Hi, I'm Simon and welcome to the third part of my vlog. And I know what you're thinking, you've seen the title, 3 of 2? What is this idiot talking about? Well, actually I have been an idiot because when I was making the last video I wrote out a list of all the games I've been playing over the last couple of months, or at least the significant ones, in chronological order, and despite making that list I still forgot 2 of them that have been taking up quite a lot of time. So of course I wanted to talk a little bit about those, so I thought this extra little addendum will cover that. Furthermore, I mentioned in the first part of the video that I've been having computer problems and I never mentioned anything more about it, and that's kind of linked to the first game I'd like to talk about. Also, there have been some changes in this room in particular that I wanted to talk about and show you a couple of things. And since making the video I've picked up a couple of games that I want to show you, things that I've been wanting to get for a while, nothing too extravagant, nothing too expensive, but games that I definitely wanted. So let's look at the first thing, and I'll tell you a little bit about the computer problems I've been having. You see, as you can see behind me, I've got a Mac, and Macs are not particularly great for gaming, although they are getting better. So what I decided to do was to dual install Windows 7. You know, that's quite easy to do. There's a piece of software on the Mac called Boot Camp, and it allows you to partition your drive and put Windows 7 or Windows XP on that part of the drive, and when you boot the system up, or you can hold down a key and boot the system up into Windows if you wish. And the reason for me wanting to do this, and I've spoken about this before, primarily was to play Planetside 2. And I thought it would probably be a while before I was playing that game, but I'd had an email through from Sony Online Entertainment, or whoever it is who makes that game, because I was subscribed to Planetside 1 and I did play it for about a year or so, and obviously they'd still got me on their mailing list, and they sent me through some information about Planetside 2, and it was to sign up for a technical test. So I thought, alright, I'll chuck my email into the hat and send them my specifications of my machine, and maybe they'll send me a link to download the software and join this technical test. Well, it so happened that that was the case. But how does that relate to problems with my PC? Well, to be able to play it, I needed to partition my drive and install Windows, and that's where the problems lay. I mean, I'm sure some of you have had the same problems with Windows, that you just have problems with it. just general problems. I seem to have them. Windows doesn't like me. I've had numerous Windows PCs over the years and I've loved having them because there are so many great games on them, but struggling with the platform to be able to play those games has always been kind of the negative side of being a PC owner. And again, it was the case. I partitioned my drive, I put in Windows, I tried to install it, and it just kept crashing, blue screen of death, again and again every time I tried to install. Turned out the problem was with some memory that I'd recently put into the Mac, because I thought, well, it's going to need a memory upgrade because it only had 4 GB in it, and I decided to put an extra 16 GB in there because it's quite handy for editing videos on Final Cut Pro 10. All that extra RAM, it actually makes use of it. Didn't realise at the time that the RAM had actually got a few flaws in it. It was working relatively well, or it seemed to be working okay with the Mac, with OS X, but as soon as I tried to use it with a Windows PC, blue screen of death, dead. So I tried updating, because I thought the problem, before I realised it was the RAM, I thought the problem was with the OS X version that I'd got and its version of Boot Camp. So I upgraded to Mountain Lion, or whatever stupid name 10.8 is called. Tried installing Windows again, same problem. Okay, figured out it must have been the RAM, because that's the most recent thing I changed on the machine. Ran a mem test, yep, loads of errors. Took the RAM out, tried reinstalling it, fine. Windows installed, but after having to format everything and... Anyway, problems aside, after about a week of faffing around, I finally managed to install Windows 7 and start playing PlanetSide 2. And I can't tell you anything about it. Because you see, the first rule of the PlanetSide 2 technical test is you cannot talk about the PlanetSide 2 technical test. And the second rule of the PlanetSide 2 technical test is you cannot talk about the PlanetSide 2 technical test. Yeah, it's kind of like that. So, annoyingly, I can't really, without violating the contract that I have signed, or well, not signed, but agreed to by clicking that button, the agree button, you know, that annoying agree button, I can't tell you anything about the game. But I will tell you this much. I loved the original PlanetSide. I think some of the greatest gaming memories I've got come from playing that game. And PlanetSide 2 is made by many of the same people. And there have been about 7 or 8 years since PlanetSide 1 and PlanetSide 2, and the FPS genre has evolved quite a bit in that time. So I'll let you do the math and figure out whether I like PlanetSide 2 or not. But when I can actually tell you anything about it, I most certainly will be jumping on here on YouTube and telling you exactly how I feel about it. So that was the first game that had been taking up a lot of my time. And the second one was something that I played many, many years ago, that I had, that nearly everybody loved, and I was technically wowed by it, but didn't actually like the game. And I thought, I want to go back and give it a go. I want to play through this series, and although technically it doesn't begin on the PlayStation 1, that's where I was going to start and jump into the series. And that game is this one.
Don't move. That's the second time I've been able to sneak up on the legendary Solid Snake.
You're Meryl? There's no way you could pass for a man for long.
What do you mean? Hey, men aren't allowed in here.
I had no idea you were so feminine.
This is no time to try and hit on me, Snake.
Ah yes, Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PlayStation 1. But I have to admit that it's a game that I didn't really like that much, and I can still see why I didn't like it. But now I actually do. After playing through it a bit, as much as the things that annoyed me back in the 90s when I first played it, that still annoy me to this day, I can really appreciate the game for what it is, and I really want to get into playing the later parts in this series. So yeah, I'm really going to get stuck into some PlayStation 1 action with Metal Gear Solid. But what is it that annoyed me about it? Well, I always felt, and I still feel to this day, that it's a very claustrophobic game. I know that you can manipulate it so you can see it through a first-person view, but that top-down view that you've got, the edges of the screen are very close to you, and I always feel kind of hemmed in. I wanted to take it and pull the camera back so I could see much more of the play area, but you can't adjust the camera in that way. But it's got a very cool storyline, cheesy, far too much exposition. In some places it seems like it's written for children, which I guess it was. I mean, it's, in a way it reminds me like when you go back to read comic books from the 80s, things that you thought were fantastic, and then you read them, not all of them, but many of them, and think, man, this dialogue is clunky, it's just badly written. And you can see why at the time people used to make fun of comic books. And in this way, I think with a lot of old games where they're story driven, not all of them again, but some, as in the case of Metal Gear Solid, I think, you know, it had its detractors, and some people did point out that the story, at least, well, the characterization and the dialogue is a bit lame. But on the flip side of that, it's kind of enjoyable in a kind of camp sort of way. Yeah, and I don't think it takes itself too seriously. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying playing through that. I haven't got anywhere near the end of it, but it's something I'm going to plod on through. I'm going to be playing other games at the same time, but I'm going to keep coming back and playing a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, because I want to get on to Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, and I've got number 4 as well on the PlayStation 3 that I'm really looking forward to playing. So I'll get through to those, get on to those at some point in the future. Now, I also mentioned there have been a few changes around here. Well, this room has always been a bit of a mess. This room is, as I've mentioned many times, it's my spare room. It's kind of the study where I've got the computer. And, well, I used to have, well, my fiance used to have her desk over there with her laptop and study stuff and books and all that kind of nonsense. But now we've changed it a bit because she's finished her course. We don't need that extra desk and don't need that extra space for a laptop. And we decided, well, why not make the room a bit more usable? So we got ourselves a sofa bed, which is over there, which is nice and comfortable, all well and good. But what makes this gaming related is over there is my 24-inch Dell monitor that used to be behind me. As you see, I've got the 17-inch old NEC LCD that I've had for many, many years. The Dell is now hooked up to a VGA to component adapter, so I can plug in the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360, the Wii, the original Xbox and the PS2, and I think that's about it, into that particular adapter. And then the audio is plugged into the little 2.1 sound system that I've got hooked up to it. But also I've got a VGA to composite and SVGA, and so I can pretty much plug in any of my other retro systems into it as well. So if ever there's a time when Emma's in the living room monopolising the television, watching Don't Tell the Bride or some other bride related programme, or God, what's that awful one in Essex? God, I can't remember what it's called. The Only Way is Essex, yeah, that kind of thing. If she's ever watching one of those reality type shows or sort of reality shows, I can just take my Xbox or PlayStation, come in here, plug in, and I can play away to my heart's content. So we're both happy with that. So that's kind of it for the gaming that I've been doing, but I have also picked up a couple of little things, and I'll just show you what those are. Well, you know, in the last video I was talking about playing a lot of this game. Yeah, well, that's UFC 2010. As I said, I spoke about that a bit in my last video, and yes, I've been playing more of it. I really do enjoy this game. I'm starting to learn a bit more of the wrestling side of it. As much as I don't like it, I realise you've got to learn that part because it is mixed martial arts, so you've at least got to have a basic understanding of how the wrestling part works and building your character up so he doesn't get completely destroyed, because I've played through 2 characters now, managed to take them to about 5th or 6th place in the UFC, but never getting a title shot. And I don't think either of the characters that I created would have been able to get there because I didn't focus on that wrestling side of their skill set. But anyway, whilst creating those characters, it took me back to a game that I used to love playing on the Amiga called Panza Kickboxing. And it's the fact that you could choose, for each of the button and joystick combinations, you could choose a different move that you wanted to assign to it. And UFC in some ways is a little bit similar to that. And I just so happened to be looking on eBay, and well, I kind of found it. Not the Amiga version, but this one. Best of the best on the Super Nintendo. And it was only a couple of quid, including delivery, and I thought, well, I loved Panza Kickboxing so much that I really want to play this. In fact, I checked out some gameplay video, and I can't remember who it was. Jim Plays Games, I think his name is. And he, yeah, that was his channel. Yeah, and he was playing the Atari ST version of this. I mean, essentially, this is the same game, just a different name. So I'm really looking forward to giving this a go. Only arrived today, haven't had a chance to play it yet, so looking forward to that one. Now, one of the things, a pickup that I forgot to mention in the last part of the video, which would probably be interesting to most of you because it's something that at least I don't see that very often in the wild. And in the wild, I mean in places like Game Station and those kind of high street gaming stores. I don't often see, in fact, I haven't for years seen Master System games. And they were in there having a sale. No, I was in there, they were having a sale. And they had lots of different things on offer at different price points. But they had some PC, old PlayStation 2 games. And they had a couple of Master System games in with this sale, 5 for £5. And I thought, it's so rare that you see these games in those types of shops, and for £1 each, even if I didn't want the games that much, I thought I might as well pick them up. And it's these two here, Afterburner and World Grand Prix. And neither of them are games that I really loved back in the day. In fact, I don't even think I've ever played the Grand Prix game. But I did used to play quite a bit of Afterburner. And being a fan of Space Harrier, you can imagine it was something that I liked. Didn't enjoy it as much as Space Harrier, even though I suppose technically it's a better game. But at that kind of price, you can't really argue. The Grand Prix game had the booklet with it, Afterburner didn't, but it's £1, you know. I had to get 3 other games. Well, I didn't have to. They were $1.99 each, or 5 for £5. So I could pay £4 and get those 2 games, or pay £5 and get 5 games. So there wasn't much to choose from, but these are the other 3 that I picked up. And the only one I wanted out of that was Sands of Time, the Prince of Persia game. I've really wanted to play that for quite a long time. I wouldn't normally pick up the classics one, but it was essentially free, so, or more or less free, 33 pence if you really want to put it in that kind of terms. Can't really turn it down at that price. So the other 2, I've really got no idea whether I'll be playing those. But yeah, but it got me to thinking I really want to get some more Master System games. And I was in another gaming shop, but this is a dedicated game shop that sells retro and modern, and they always have Master System games in there. Not always ones that I want, and certainly not normally at prices that I'm willing to pay, but they did have Shinobi, and this is a game I absolutely loved from my days as a Master System owner. I never owned it, but at least I don't think I did. But I remember my friend owned it, and it probably feels like I owned it because I borrowed it off him so many times. But at $4.99 for a complete copy of Shinobi, and in pretty good condition, I couldn't complain, so I had to get that. I've been playing a little bit of it. It's one of those games, and I've mentioned this about Wonder Boy, or Super Wonder Boy in Monsterland. It's one of those Master System games that I never beat. As much as I played it and wanted to and tried, I've never beaten that game, and I haven't beaten this one. So it's on my list of Master System games to beat. Okay, one last thing that I picked up. And this is a PlayStation 2 title that I wanted to get for some time. And it's not something that's really expensive. Normally goes for about £10 on eBay, £8 to £10. But I've always been cheap and thinking, oh, I'm sure I can find it for £2. Well, it just so happened I did win it in an auction for £1.25, but I had to pay another £2.25 shipping, so it came to about £3.50, and that is Okami. Not a game that I played years ago as a PlayStation 2 owner. If I had, I probably would have kept it, but it's something that Johnny Millennium was talking about quite a long time ago in an episode of Happy Console Gamer, when he was talking about the studio, Clover Studios, shutting down. One of the other games he mentioned was Beautiful Joe, which I did pick up, really liked, and I've been keeping an eye out for this at a good price. And it's in very nice condition. I was surprised to see how nice and clean the manual is, and the disc's very nice. Haven't played it yet, so can't show you any gameplay footage, but it's going to get played quite soon because I'm really enjoying getting into a bit of PlayStation 2 at the moment. So that's it. That kind of wraps up this 16th vlog. I know it's gone on a little bit longer than it should. In fact, the vlog as a whole has gone on for a monstrously long amount of time, and I'm going to try to get some more videos up more frequently. And I know I'm going to be busy over the next week, but the week after I'm hoping to get a couple of videos up with some interesting things in them. So from my spare room with my Mac and all of these new things to play with, to wherever you are, this is Simon signing off. Bye bye.